Spivey. Welcome to the Connect podcast and to this second episode of our series on activating abundance. I'm so glad you're here today. So we're talking about something that's both deeply personal to me and profoundly biblical, what it means to speak life and activate abundance, not only in your life, but in the lives of people around you. This isn't just about being positive. It's about aligning our words with God's purposes and encouraging one another in the work of the Lord, and thereby activating abundance by being a cheerleader for the callings of those around us. So if you've walked with me for any length of time, you know that healthy friendships and spiritual community is something that I really care about deeply. I feel like I've been blessed that God has placed the right people in my life at just the right time. And I've had people who spoke life over me, who reminded me of God's promises when I was discouraged, who cheered me on when I wasn't sure that I could take another step. And I want to be that for others as well. So lately, the Lord has been showing me some more practical ways to live this out, like gathering friends around my dining room table or meeting up in little coffee shop corners here and there for what I've been calling casually work days. But it kind of makes me laugh when I use that phrase, because if you grew up in church, you might remember the church work days, which meant you would be pulling weeds or painting walls or taking out trash, cleaning out closets. This isn't that kind of work day. It's just a day that I'm using to cheer others on in their God-given assignments and creating space to begin something new. Like, you want to start a blog? Let me help you with that. You want to have a podcast? Let me help you with that. Let's just get started. And so that word begin has been stirring in me. When we open the Bible to Zechariah chapter 4, we find this beautiful reminder: do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. I think about this verse often, but I want to read the entire thing to you. The Lord rejoices to see the work begin and to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. So I want to slow down and really look at what's happening in this passage. And yes, this means a history lesson. I've been skipping the history lesson for weeks, so humor me for a minute. I love this. So there's three things that you need to know from this passage. Who is Zerubbabel? So Zerubbabel, and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he was the governor of Judah after the Babylonian exile. And he had been tasked with an enormous assignment to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. So that sounds noble, that sounds inspiring, but the reality is that this project had already started and had been stalled for years. The people were tired. They faced opposition from surrounding nations. Resources were limited and discouragement was heavy. To make matters worse, there were people who did remember Solomon's glorious temple, and they looked at the foundation of this new temple and felt disappointed. I think that they probably compared the present work with the past glory, and they said, this just doesn't measure up. And so I can imagine how deflating that must have been. Someone is doing their best, they've laid a foundation, and people are standing on the sidelines criticizing it's not as good as it was before. So when Zechariah the prophet delivers this prophecy, when he points out to Zerubbabel holding a plumb line, it's not just about this tool that he was holding. A plumb line was a simple cord with a weight at the bottom of it, and it was used to make sure that a wall was standing straight. On the surface, it's basic, it's unimpressive, but in that moment, it really became a powerful symbol. So seeing Zerubbabel with this plumb line in his hand, with this tool, it meant the work is starting again. So all of a sudden, the people had this visible sign that they weren't stuck anymore. Yes, the temple wasn't complete. Yes, resources were still scarce. Yes, opposition was still real. But Zerubbabel, holding up that plumb line, declared, we are moving forward. And here's what I love. God rejoiced over that moment. He wasn't going to only rejoice when the temple would be finished. He wasn't only going to rejoice when the dedication service would take place. God was rejoicing because the work was beginning again. Despise not the day of small beginnings. And so that's huge for us, because sometimes we think that God only celebrates when we reach the finish line. But Zechariah reminds us heaven is already rejoicing when you take that first faithful step. When you pick up the plumb line, when you dare to begin again after discouragement, when you refuse to let comparison or fear hold you back, that's the moment when God says, I see you, I'm with you, I'm rejoicing over you. You know, I think back to times when I've needed that encouragement, when the vision in front of me felt too small or too ordinary or too overwhelming, but that was the moment that someone spoke life into me. And they reminded me that what seemed small in my hands can be significant in God's greater plan. And those moments gave me the courage I needed to keep going. And so I want to challenge you. Who in your life right now needs that word of life? Who is holding a plumb line? Who's starting something new, stepping out in faith, and could use your encouragement? Maybe it's someone launching a podcast or a ministry. Maybe it's a young leader beginning to step out. Maybe a young leader beginning to preach. Maybe it's a friend who's starting over after a hard season. You could be the voice that says, God rejoices to see you begin. Keep going. And so today, the way we're going to activate abundance in our lives and in the lives of others is by speaking life. Don't hold back your encouragement. Don't minimize the day of small beginnings. Remember, abundance isn't found in hoarding, but in sharing. And when you champion someone else's calling, you're not creating competition. You're multiplying the kingdom impact. You are cheering on your teammates. And that is so exciting. So let's be people who celebrate those plumb line moments. Let's rejoice when others begin. Let's speak life so that the body of Christ grows stronger, braver, and bolder. I'd love to hear how you're speaking life into others. So send me a message or leave a comment. And before we close, I'd also love to connect with you beyond this podcast. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel or to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're finding Jennifer W. Spivey. And we'll share more conversations about activating abundance, spiritual friendship and community, healthy leadership, and if you're a woman in ministry or in leadership, pastor's wife, pastor, emerging leader, leader in transition, I'd love for you to check out the Connect Mentoring Network. This is a space designed to support, equip, and cheer you on as you pursue the calling that God has placed on your life. You can find out more about it at connectmentoringnetwork.org. So thanks again for joining me today on the Connect podcast. And until next time, keep speaking life, keep raising that plumb line, and keep activating abundance wherever God has placed you. I'm looking forward to connecting with you again soon.